Okay, so when you're buying a property, you can buy it on a cooling off period. Very stressful period. If you don't know what you're doing, we're going to step you through it right now this morning. Stay tuned.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Billy.
We're talking about cooling off. It isn't so cool. It's very stressful. Here's what you need to know.
Here it is. So when you buy a property in New South Wales, a standard New South Wales contract offers a 5 business day cooling off period, and in that 5 business days you can get your things in order. You can make amendments to the contract by solicitors talking to each other. You do your strata search if it's a strata property, a building inspection, make sure the integrity of the property is good, and get your finance unconditionally approved. So you may have it approved subject to valuation, and that will give you the time to get that valuation done and to get that approval through. But sometimes it takes, and there are lots of highs and lows in between, and it's great because Billy's just going through this at the moment. So I think it's Bill, you got a lot of intel that you can share with us.
Yeah, it's not as quite as easy as wait 5 days and it's all good. There's actually quite a lot of work you need to do in between the 5 days. In my case, I had 10 days, which sounds awesome. But in some ways it's doubled the stress because it's doubled the time. And we're still not quite there yet. But I think cooling off periods, it's great. It means you can make your offer and then you've got time to do your due diligence, make sure you've got all your documents lined up, all the paperwork sorted out. But yeah, you've touched on a few of them there, Mark. Number one is making sure you've got your finance under your belt. So regular contact with the broker. You mentioned briefly the broker's under pressure to deliver. Sometimes there's complications they'll run into.
It's a lot of pressure for a broker, isn't it? Because they're relying on a bank and they're relying on other third, fourth, fifth parties to get things organised.
Yeah, that's it. And it's even worse from like a client's perspective where you're waiting on like the make or break deal, and finance is what you need to go through, but it's all relying on someone else. You can't do anything about it.
It's true. So I guess if from a seller's perspective, would you do a cool off? I think it's probably because as a seller you can insist that no cooling off is offered, and that's waived by a thing called a 66W certificate. So you don't, as a seller, you don't necessarily have to offer the standard 5-day cooling off. You can insist that you want it to be unconditional, which is waivering that cool off. I think that's an advantage to do that for a buyer that doesn't need a valuation. They may be very confident. For a buyer that wants to perhaps buy the property for a little bit of a lower price, they may offer the no cooling off to show the certainty of the sale. Or if they're buying land or something, they're not doing a building inspection, or they may already have and be content with the building inspection. So some people from a seller's perspective, some sellers insist no cooling off. We don't want it. We want to be locked in. When it's sold, it's sold. And from a buyer, sometimes buyers are dangling the carrot just to try to buy the property for less and to try to seal the deal.
Yeah. Do you think that takes away your what am I looking for? The amount of people that can actually be in a position to buy the property, though, if you insist on that instant exchange?
Yeah, look, I think as a seller, you may not. Good morning, Luke. Got to do due diligence. Cool off depends on the market. Absolutely, we're seeing less cool offs in this vibrant market than what we've ever
That's
seen.
interesting.
But sorry, Billy, what was your question there? It was
If you've
does
got
it narrow down?
if you've got a condition where you don't want any cool off, does that narrow down the amount of people that are actually in a position to buy?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. But I think, depending, like what Luke said, it depends on the how hot the market is at the moment. I would say that out of the sales that we're doing, that probably 40% would be on a non-cooling off. They would waiver the cooling off, and 60% would be on a cool off. But we do often have a best and fairest, like a bit of a bidding frenzy before we put it into a cool off, to make sure that's the best price for the owner. But yeah,
Interesting.
can we also, Billy? You had a 10-day cooling off. What does it look like? And just to go through that journey, because you were pretty stressed going into it, which you're how old are you?
Well, 18. It's not so much stressful. It's just the amount of money you're playing with, and you talk about your like 0.25% deposit, which initially is $1,600 in my case, and it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely money you don't want to lose, and then you start paying for your strata report, and you I think that was only $50, but it's all these like things that they add up. Then you get your other people involved, like your broker and your solicitor, and you just don't want to let them down as well. You feel a bit of responsibility to go through at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right. I know, and the person you're buying off, there's all these guys you don't want to let down. But something that we should mention that you did just bring up is when you lock in a cool off as a buyer, the seller can't withdraw. The seller is locked in 100%. But when, as a buyer, you have the 5-day option, but you will lose 0.25%. So for a property of 600 or 1,000, you will lose $1,600. I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
For a property of 1.2, you'll lose 3,200 plus some legal legwork and financial legwork. There's strata searches, building searches. So you're going to be down probably a good 3, 4, 5 grand if you don't proceed on the call off when you're buying a property in New South Wales.
Plus, and here's the big plus, all the emotional involvement you've already put in, because I think for anyone, whether you're a first-time buyer or not, making the first move, putting your offer in, then it's offer accepted, and then you think, wow, we're actually in this, and then you move to the next steps where you're sending all your paperwork over, thinking we're getting so close, then to dip out in the last couple of days, it's pretty heavy.
So that happens a lot though. So normally you've got your 5 business days. Sometimes people negotiate 10 business days, which is in your case what you did there. When you get to that 5 days and you've expired and you're just about to expire, you must notify the vendor solicitor, your solicitor, of your intentions not to proceed, or to proceed because it's automatically regarded that you are proceeding after 5 business days. So if you need to withdraw in writing if you're going to. Now, if you do ask for an extension, so what happened with you? You asked
yesterday. It got to about, we're cooling off at 5 p.m. It got to about 4:30, and they said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, we've done. I think we've agreed verbally, but there was nothing in writing." So then the solicitors got typing away, and thankfully, I think with 10 minutes to spare, it was all set for an extra 24 hours. But I think that's a thing that I wasn't quite aware of. If it's not in writing, you're assumed to be going ahead. That's right, Mark.
So you got to be careful. You got to be super careful. So did they ask for more money out of you to extend the cooling off, or did they just do it out of goodwill?
Out of goodwill, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, so Billy, what's the emotion like to buy a property under a cool off? How would you sum this up? What have you done similar that's made you feel like this, and what are you feeling like?
I would say it's like, imagine you only get one Christmas, but not once a year. It's like once every 10 years, and you know it's coming in 10 days, and you've just got to wait. And then Christmas doesn't show up, and you get half a present.
It's gold. That's gold. So
it's a long wait.
A cool off is like a 10-year Christmas.
But then Boxing Day is just as good. You know that feeling where you have a great Christmas, but Boxing Day you're seeing all the family. It's like that. And if everything goes through today's D-Day, then it'll be pretty sweet.
You're up. All right. So I think we've covered off well on cooling off periods today. So when you are buying a property, guys and girls, you standard New South Wales contract is a 5-day cooling off written in there. It can be waived to make your deal look more solid as a purchaser. A seller can insist that they will not offer that standard clause, that they would like a 66W to be included, which waivers that 5-day cooling off. In summary, you are locked in as a seller if you're going to a cool off with a buyer, but as a buyer, you're not locked in. As a buyer, you've got 5 days to make a decision. If you withdraw in those 5 days, you will lose 0.25% of your deposit, which can be on a $600,000 property about $1,600 from memory there. And I think that's a scoop.
And tell us, Mark, is it often if you do ask for an extension, you have to pay a bit of more money?
Not normally. No, not normally. Normally, I would say when people ask for an extension, if they've got good grounds, if they've got good, like they've got their lawyers on the same page, talking the same language, their banks openly communicating, or their brokers openly communicating with them. They've given everyone a little bit of notice or a bit of a heads up as to why they need an extension of the call off, not just in the last 15 minutes, but the day before, just a bit of a heads up, or the same day, just a bit of a heads up. So I think if communication is good and reasoning is good, then the seller would generally extend it. When they do extend it these days, most common would be an extra 24 hours. Second most common would be an extra 5 days. It just depends on how far they missed it. But in your circumstance, you already had a 10-day cooling off agreed up front. You got that agreement from the owners. So to ask for another 5 days would have been a bit cheeky. 24 hours with good grounds, which you had, everyone would agree to that.
Yeah. I think that's right. Reasoning. In fact, the solicitor did ask for a reason. I'm sure that was to pass on directly to the other side. So everyone's on the same page. Yeah.
Big time. And guys and girls, if you know anyone buying a property at the moment, do share this video with them. It is about cooling off periods. It will help people. Thanks for watching. Billy, thanks for joining. You're a legend.
See you, Mark. Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Good luck on your cooling off today, 5 p.m.
Thank you.
See you, mate. Cheers, guys. See you.